Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai Om Vishnuvada Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Statera Sata Sri Srimad Chidandi Goswami Shri Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Jai Nrsimha Ki Jai. Sambhaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. Jai Jai Shri Guru Shri Gauranga. So here I am instead of Ram Roy. He's going to give the class tonight, and he suggested I should then give the class this morning, so please bear with your disappointment. I'm sure you're looking forward to his class. But maybe I'll try to be a decent substitute. Since Ram Roy Prabhu is going to be speaking tonight, and I understand he will be really giving us all the Leela, I thought perhaps this morning we could prepare ourselves by meditation on Nrsimha. And to begin with, I suggested we could chant this verse together from Srimad Bhāgavatam, which appears in the 5th canto, whereas in the chapter that's titled the prayers offered to the Lord by the residents of Jambudvipa. Jambudvipa, which contains various varshas in the land of Jambudvipa. And on these different varshas, or you could call them, they're like, sometimes they're described like islands, but they're also described as planes of existence. In the different varshas, there are different devotees who rule in those varshas and worship the Lord in different forms. And so Sukadeva Goswami, he's describing these different varshas, and he begins with the Bhadrashva Varsha. He then continues different varshas until he gets to this text where he describes that on the Hari Varsha, this is in text 7, he describes that the Lord Nrsimhadev resides there. So if you wonder where Lord Nrsimhadev's home is, at least from this account, Lord Nrsimhadev resides in this tract called the Hari Varsha. And of course, who is there to worship him? Prahlad Maharaj. Sukadeva in the verse 7 describes that he will narrate all of these pastimes in the 7th canto. But then he describes that thus Prahlad Maharaj, along with his servants and all the denizens of Hari Varsha. So there's a whole abode. Now, this is very interesting because we also know that Prahlad Maharaj becomes the king of the Daityas after the demise of Hiranyakashipu. And so thus he rules from the Daitya position, which I understand is generally in the lower planetary system. So it must be that Prahlad Maharaj has a variety of homes. And in this particular place of Hari Varsha, he worships Nrsimhadev with this mantra. So let us repeat this together. This is text 8. It's a very wonderful prayer. Now, it's interesting that in the Bhāgavatam here, it's written in the form of, you could say, of prose. It's not written with a meter. So I'll just do it the way I do it usually. And we can chant it responsively. Om Namo Bhagavate Nrsimhaya. Namaste Tejase. Avir Bhava. Vajranaka Vajradangstra. Karmashayan Randaya. Tamo grasso. Om Swaha. Abhayam. Atmani Bhuishta. Om. Shroom. Did I do that properly? I don't know. Shroom. Shroom. I don't know. It's the best I could do. All together again? Om Namo Bhagavate Nrsimhaya. Namaste Tejase. Avir Baba Vajanaka Vajatangstra Karmashayan Randaya Tamo Grasso Om Saha Abhayam Akni Bhuyishta Om Chom. Jai Nrsimha. Now the synonyms. O Lord, Namaha, my respectful obeisances. Bhagavate, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nrsimhaya, known as Lord Nrsimha. Namaha, obeisances. Tejas say, the power of all power. Avir Bhava, please be fully manifest. Vajranaka, O you who possess nails like thunderbolts. Vajradangstra, O you who possess teeth like thunderbolts. Karma ashayan, demoniac desires to be happy by material activities. Randaya, kindly vanquish. Tamaha, ignorance in the material world. Grasa, kindly drive away. Grasa, kindly drive away. Oh my Lord. Swaha, respectful oblations. Abhayam, fearlessness. Abhayam, fearlessness. Atmani, in my mind. Bhuyishta, may you appear. O Lord. Kshom, the beej or seed of mantras offering prayers to Lord Nrsimha. The translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Nrsimha Dev, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possess nails and teeth just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activity in this material world. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. Purport. In Srimad Bhāgavatam 4:22-39, Sanat Kumar speaks the following words to Maharaj Prithu. Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasha bhaktya karmashayan gratitam ugratayanti santa tadvanna rikta matayo yatayo pibudha shrotoganastam maranam bhajavasudevam. Devotees always engaged in the service of the toes of the Lord's lotus feet can very easily become free from hard-knotted desires for fruitive activities. Because this is very difficult, the non-devotees, the gyanis and yogis cannot stop the waves of sense gratification, although they try to do so. Therefore, you are advised to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. End quote. Every living being within this material world has a strong desire to enjoy matter to his fullest satisfaction. For this purpose, the conditioned soul must accept one body after another, and thus his strongly fixed fruitive desires continue. One cannot stop the repetition of birth and death without being completely desireless. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami describes pure bhakti, devotional service, as follows. Anyabilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavrtam anukulyena krishnanusilanam bhaktir uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. Unless one is completely freed of all material desires, which are caused by the dense darkness of ignorance, one cannot fully engage in the devotional service of the Lord. Therefore, we should always offer our prayers to Lord Nrsimha, who killed Hiranyakashipu, the personification of material desire. Hiranya means gold, and Kashipu means a soft cushion or bed. Materialistic persons always desire to make the body comfortable, and for this they require huge amounts of gold. Thus, Hiranyakashipu was the perfect representative of materialistic life. He was therefore the cause of great disturbance to the topmost devotee, Prahlad Maharaj, until Lord Nrsimha killed him. Any devotee aspiring to be free of material desires should offer his respectful prayers to Nrsimha as Prahlad Maharaj did in this verse. I just realized we didn't chant normally the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva, but we did chant Om Namo Bhagavate Nrsimhaya, so I pray that that was the appropriate way to begin. Any devotee aspiring to be free of material desires should offer his respectful prayers to Nrsimha as Prahlad Maharaj did in this verse. As devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement, we all have a relationship with Lord Nrsimha. To begin, our relationship with Lord Nrsimha in our movement actually began, Srila Prabhupada introduced us to Lord Nrsimha, particularly to the prayers that we sing every day. Back in 1970, at that time, he requested the devotees to learn this prayer. Let's see if I can find it here. No, I can't find it. Anyway, I was reading it today, that it was in 1970. And then he taught the devotees the prayer that we sing, Namaste Nrsimhaya. He had it printed out on some papers, and he distributed them amongst the devotees. And we've started with this prayer. Now this prayer is also, we find that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he used to pray in this way. We first find Mahaprabhu's encounter with Lord Nrsimha in his visit to South India.
So there, let's see if I can find it here. Yes, in the Madhya 8:5, he's traveling in to a place called Jyada Nrsimha. I'm not quite sure where that is. Anyone knows where Jyada Nrsimha is? Is it in Ahobilam, or is it? Anyway, I know he also went to Ahobilam. So there, Krishnadas Kaviraj describes that upon seeing the deity of Lord Nrsimha in the temple, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his respectful obeisances by falling flat, and then in ecstatic love he performed various dances. He chanted and offered prayers. So let's hear what the prayers that he...
I think it's either synonymous or near Simhachalam in South India.
Okay. So he begins with a prayer that we also often recite. In Mayapur, this is recited every day. And we can recite this together. I'll line by line. Shri Nrsimha Jai Nrsimha Jai Jai Nrsimha. Praladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bringa. So this was the first of Mahaprabhu's prayers. The translation, Sri Nrsimha, Lord Nrsimha with Lakshmi. So we have this Sri Nrsimha. So Sri indicates Lakshmi, and Nrsimha, Nrsimhadev. Jai Nrsimha, all glories to Lord Nrsimha. Jai Jai, again and again, glories Nrsimha to Nrsimhadev. Pralada Isha, to the Lord of Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Padma, of the goddess of fortune. Mukha Padma, of the lotus-like face. Bringa, the bee. So here's the translation. All glories to Nrsimhadev. All glories to Nrsimhadev, who is the Lord of Prahlad Maharaj, and like a honeybee is always engaged in beholding the lotus-like face of the goddess of fortune. The goddess of fortune, this is in Srila Prabhupada's purport. The goddess of fortune is always embraced by Lord Nrsimhadev. This is mentioned in the commentary on Srimad Bhāgavatam, written by the great commentary Srila Sridhar Swami. The following verse was composed by Sridhar Swami in his commentary on the 10th canto. Vagisha yasya vadane lakshmir yasya chavakshashi yasyaste hridaye samvitang nrsimham aham bhaje. Nrsimhadev is always assisted by Saraswati, the goddess of learning. And he is always embracing the goddess of fortune to his chest. The Lord is always complete in knowledge within himself. Let us offer obeisances unto Nrsimhadev. And another prayer from Sridhar Swami in his commentary to Srimad Bhāgavatam, for the first verse of Srimad Bhāgavatam. He says, Pralad hridayalhadam bhakta vidya vidaranam sharadindu ruchim vande parindra vadanam harim. Let me offer my obeisances unto Lord Nrsimhadev, who is always enlightening Prahlad Maharaj within his heart, and who always kills the nescience that attacks the devotees. His mercy is distributed like moonshine, and his face is like that of a lion. Let me offer my obeisances unto him again and again. So here we find repeated what Prahlad Maharaj is praying. That Lord Nrsimhadev, who we often think he's our protector. He's our protector. We call to Lord Nrsimhadev for protection. But what is the thing that we need most protection from? Is it a crazy guy on the street who's going to, come at us with a knife. How many people here have ever been attacked? Prabhu, you've been attacked? No one else? Good. I was attacked once. Well, actually, no, I wasn't attacked. I attacked somebody this was in Calcutta, and I was walking to the temple with my good friend and godbrother Tejas, and this was early morning. We were going for Mangalarti, so it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and we were walking from where our office was, about, 20 minutes walk. And all of a sudden, two young men came and snatched the watch from Tejas's hand, and he was holding a knife. And they're like, okay. Somehow I don't remember how I said Nrsimha. I don't think I said Nrsimha, but somehow I turned and I started grabbing the guy and trying to chase him and so on. So I tried to catch him. I didn't catch him, but anyway. There are many instances we hear of devotees who are attacked, and there was, here in Brooklyn, we've had one instance. I don't know about here in this temple, but in Henry Street, Nrsimha would be able to probably give, I think he was there. So we had interesting relationships with our neighbors. It was at the time a predominantly Italian neighborhood, Catholic Italian, and us Hare Krishnas were not exactly fitting in. And it was July 4th, and so what do people do on July 4th? They throw out, they light bombs and so on. And someone decided to throw a bomb at our front door, one of these cherry bombs. Anyway, there ensued a bit of a altercation, which turned into almost a riot, and there was a huge fight, and then finally, and as this was going on, one of the devotees, I can't remember his name, Nrsimha maybe remembers that in more detail, came out and shouted, "Nrsimha, Nrsimha, Nrsimha, Nrsimha," and in this way things started to cool down, and finally somebody came out with a shotgun, and that really stopped it all. But so there's so many instances where we call on Nrsimha Day for protection, to protect us in material circumstances, things when we're attacked, when there's an attack, and to protect us from illness, to protect us from all kinds of material calamities. And Srila Prabhupada also asked us to do this. He introduced the prayers to Lord Nrsimha Day for the protection of ISKCON. He wanted that we should chant these prayers, his desires that we should protect ISKCON. Now, it's interesting that I was hoping to check the date. 1970, when these prayers were introduced, was a very potentially really difficult time for ISKCON. ISKCON had grown. It had spread. But the devotees who initially in the early days were just fully the little, how you should say, the puppies of Srila Prabhupada, just directed in every way, doing whatever he wanted, had now grown into independent temple presidents and leaders, and they were getting careless. They were becoming careless in relationship, particularly to Srila Prabhupada as our founder Acharya. In one case, they left his name off of or they didn't put it properly in a publication. And they were Srila Prabhupada arrived in Los Angeles, and And the Charanamrita was flavored with salt. And there were some other of these careless things. And Srila Prabhupada began thinking, ISKCON is under some threat here. And he asked us to begin this prayer for the protection of ISKCON. We've also, of course, used this prayer for the protection of our beloved devotees and spiritual masters. But for ourselves, the most fundamental protection we all need is the protection from our own material desires, which are like Hiranyakashipu, sitting in our hearts, right inside. It's said that in the Satya Yuga, right, the demoniac were on other, the asuras and the suras were on completely different planets. How does it go like that? They were different planets. And then in the Chaitya Yuga, they come into the same planet but in different areas, different regions. And then in the Dvapara Yuga, now they're in the same families even. But in our Kali Yuga, the Asuric and the divine and the demoniac are residing within the same bodies. Each one of us, we have within us, well, maybe not all of you. I think, possibly there are some devotees here that don't have, but I can speak for myself. There's an Hiranyakashipu living inside. And from time to time, calling out, "Whoa, what about that? What about that?" kind of enjoyments. The Asura within. So Nrsimhadev has appeared for our protection, and he has got all power. Tejase. He's got Vajranaka. Nakam. Was it, how does our prayer go? Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam. Nakam. The Nakam. The nail. Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam. That his nails, according to this prayer, are like lotuses. But according to this prayer, like thunderbolts. So they do both services. Because the next verse is it's an Adbhut Sringam. It's a Adbhut, such a wonderful form. And what happens? Dalita. With those nakam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu is torn apart. How? Tanubringam. Like one might split a wasp. Doesn't take much, right, to take apart a wasp. For Nrsimhadev, those nails, they tear apart the most powerful being, just like it was a wasp. This is the power of Nrsimha. Now, in our prayer, I'll just relate my own feeling. I pray this prayer every day. I repeat this particular shloka every day. But sometimes, and often, especially when I'm there in Mayapur in front of the deity of Lord Nrsimhadev. But very often I add something. I'm praying, please, Karmasaya Randaya, vanquish all my material desires. But But then I think, but please be gentle when you do this. Because he has all power. He can do it. You're like, rah! My friend, I tell this story often, how he was standing in front of Lord Nrsimhadev. And Pancaratna Prabhu was next to him. And as we know, Pancaratna Prabhu in Mayapur especially was engaged in worshiping Lord Nrsimhadev on a daily basis practically. So my friend was turned to Pancaratna and says, please, can you offer a prayer to Lord Nrsimhadev for me to remove all my anarthas? And Pancaratna turned to him and said, are you sure? Yes, please pray. Are you really sure? Like this, it continued for a couple of times. Yes. All right. My friend relates how subsequently he found himself enmeshed in the worst kind of managerial struggles that he'd ever faced in his life. He did lose his position. His particular position was kind of fell apart, not in a nice way. It was really kind of, it was painful the way it all. And he realized that maybe he should have added a little caveat. So, but whatever it takes. We have to accept it. We have to accept that the Hiranyakashipu in our hearts must be destroyed. Must be destroyed. And whether it is, ultimately, Nrsimhadev did a quick job. So I think that's kind of my prayer. Okay, Nrsimhadev, if you could do it like that, like Hiranyakashipu, what did it take? He played, of course. Now that is one thing, is that we know that that when Nrsimhadev appeared, that he didn't immediately kill Hiranyakashipu, did he? He played with him. There was a fight that went on. And at times it seemed that Hiranyakashipu he felt like he was almost victorious. And the Devatas observing were like, what's happening? But ultimately when Nrsimhadev decided, when the time was right, because although he engaged in this fight, we don't know exactly, the timing of it all, but we know that when the actual time was right, the time that suited the fulfillment of Brahma's benedictions, the time that was neither daytime or nighttime, when that time came, when that just right time came, it was a simple surgery, as Vasudeva described, open heart surgery yesterday. He called it in our. It wasn't exactly like that. It was more like, like a meat grinder that just. I was just in preparation. I went to look at the Nrsimha Purana to see how it's described there, and there it's described how Nrsimhadev appears with 8 arms. So he uses 2 of those arms with his nails to rip apart Nrsimhadev, and another 2 arms to take those intestines and put it on himself. So simultaneously, he's ripping apart, garlanding himself, and it's done. And then it describes how these 2 halves of Nrsimhadev disappear. Not of Nrsimhadev, excuse me, I'm sorry. These 2 halves of Hiranyakashipu, they disappear. And Nrsimhadev is, according to the Nrsimha Purana, is thinking, what happened? Did all of this and then he shakes his hands like that, and out comes the 2 halves of Hiranyakashipu. So he did a quick business of Hiranyakashipu. That can also be our prayer. Although we may have to observe a bit of a fight, Hiranyakashipu in our hearts may put up resistance, as he will do. He's not going to go down without a fight. But we know that he is doomed. That is our confidence. We can all be confident that the demon within may give us trouble now, but that demon is condemned. That demon has no chance. No chance against the nails and the teeth of Lord Nrsimhadev. Lord Chaitanya goes on in this prayer, very nice description. So he describes, we just said how he chants this verse about Sri Nrsimha, Jai Nrsimha. Then he goes on to pray. This verse is from Srimad Bhāgavatam in the 7th canto. But actually, sorry, it's a verse composed by Sri Nrsimha in his commentary to the 7th canto. Ugro pyunugrai bhayam swabhaktanam nrikeshari, keshari va swabhaktanam anyesham ugra vigrama. Translation: although very ferocious, the lioness is very kind to her cubs. Similarly, although very ferocious to non-devotees like Hiranyakashipu, Lord Nrsimhadev is very, very soft and kind to devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. I'm sure all of you have seen pictures of Nrsimhadev and Prahlad. Nrsimhadev with his golden mane, his lion face, embracing Prahlad, like described here, like a lioness with her cubs. Now, it's actually understood that in the lion family, it's actually the lioness who is even more ferocious than the lion. The lion gathers together his pride of lionesses, and he then sits back, and it's the lionesses go out and hunt. It's a little different than our. They go out and they bring in so they're actually even more ferocious than the lion. But they're so soft and gentle to their cubs, who they will protect with every ounce of their energy and being. They are so protective. So Lord Nrsimhadev has that quality, that he protects his devotees with softness and kindness. It's described that there's another example of the cat and the jaw of the cat. You've heard that example, how the cat's jaws to the little mouse are death, but to the kitten is sanctuary. So similarly, the mane of Lord Nrsimhadev that could frighten even Hiranyakashipu. The roar of Nrsimhadev that drove fear into the entire assembly, including even the Devatas. When they appeared after Hiranyakashipu is finished, Nrsimhadev is still very, very angry. He's roaring. And Brahma, what are we going to do now? The Lord, how can he be pacified in this anger? He can destroy everything. And there's an interesting Puranic history about how that varies from Bhāgavatam, in which the Devatas call forth Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva he creates a form called Shalva. I can't remember all the details. And there's this big battle and everything, and finally, and there's the Shaivites say that that Shalva killed Lord Nrsimha. That's just not exactly. It's just an indication of, with all due respect to Mahadev, some of your followers, I think, have gotten a little confused here, and I respectfully submit that they're wrong. It was the other way around. But in any case, in the Bhāgavatam, it's a little different. In the Bhāgavatam, we find that Lord Nrsimhadev is filled with anger, such that Brahma himself feels he cannot approach. And he turns to Lakshmi, to Sri, and says, well, this is your husband. You should be able to pacify him. And Lakshmi proclaims, I don't even recognize him in this mood. I've never seen him like this. And finally, it is Prahlad who goes forth, because he has no fear. He's already seen the power and the protection of Nrsimhadev. He's witnessed that power in one occasion after another. We were reflecting, okay, I didn't have time to, maybe tonight Ram Roy will take us through the sequence of attempts on Prahlad's life, each one which fails. And at one point there's somewhere where there's a conversation in which, and Natabara and I were trying to find out where it's from. We haven't found it. But where Prahlad describes why should he be afraid? Because all of these attempts, the snakes, the mountains, the ocean, the fire, they're all actually just simply the expansions of my Lord. The snakes, they are related to Shesha, and Shesha, my Lord lies down on the bed of snakes. The fire is related to my Lord, who is Yajna, the consumer of all oblations. So he's never feeling even afraid. He knows, he's always feeling the presence of his Lord and the assurance of his protection. So when Lord Nrsimhadev appears, he easily approaches him, and Lord Nrsimhadev is pacified. I was curious, where does Yoga Nrsimha come in? There are various forms of Nrsimha. There's 9 forms of Nrsimhadev who reside in temples in Ahobilam, and they each have a different characteristic. There's Lakshmi Nrsimha, there's Ugra Nrsimha, there's Sthana Nrsimha, there's Mohalam Nrsimha, and there's Yoga Nrsimha. Yoga Nrsimha, who is sitting like this, and he's got a yoga belt on, to keep yourself really straight. And I haven't been able to fully determine this, but it appears that Nrsimha and Prahlad, they continued their relationship for some time. And Nrsimha taught Prahlad yogic activities. And he also, perhaps, one of the versions is that after becoming pacified by Prahlad, then he decides to meditate. Nrsimha decides to sit down and meditate. So this is the effect that Prahlad Maharaj has on Nrsimhadev. So when we worship Nrsimhadev, we also worship him along with Prahlad, because we want Prahlad's benediction as well. We know that we want his prayer. We want his prayer, the prayer that he gives once Nrsimhadev is pacified and offers benediction to Prahlad. Prahlad's response is, please. First he said, please save my father, please forgive my father. But then he goes on to say, please, bless everyone who is suffering in this world. So we pray daily, not only to Nrsimhadev, but also to Bhakta Prahlad. I thought we could also, let's first of all, let's just hear a little bit more from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited different verses from the Shastra. The priest of Lord Nrsimhadev then brought garlands and the remnants of the Lord's food and offered them to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This was in South India, but then when he comes to see if I can find it here. Then he comes back to Puri, and he is engaged in the worship of Lord Jagannath. Every day he enters the temple of Lord Jagannath, and first he approaches Lord Nrsimhadev. So this is in Antya 1650 CC. On the southern side, behind and above the 22 steps, is the deity of Lord Nrsimhadev. It is on the left as one goes up the steps toward the temple. Now, most of us are in the wrong bodies to be able to enter the temple of Puri, but some of you, I'm sure, Prabhu Vishnu, you visited Jagannath. So you probably have seen this deity of Lord Nrsimhadev. Small. It's a small deity? Oh, you're a small boy. Anyone who recently has been there can describe? Do you know? Well, tell us a little bit about the deity of Nrsimhadev. Very big.
Yeah, the temple is, the staircase goes up. So only one person can go up.
Uh-huh.
So the other person, they wait. So then, huge Nrsimhadev.
Big, huge Nrsimhadev. Oh.
Big. Like altar, like that big.
Oh, really? Wow, okay.
Devotees wait there, they take turn, because the staircase is so small.
So Sri Chaitanya, he would offer his obeisances, and then he recited these verses. What do you think he recited? No, that's not what he said. What did Namaste Nrsimhaya Prahlada Lada Dayine Hiranyakashipo Vaksha Shila Tanka Nakalaye. One thing I've tried to do in my life, and I found it very enriching, and I suggest it for all of you, is to learn the meaning of each and every one of these words. We sing these songs every day. We sing all these prayers. Maybe we don't know Sanskrit or Bengali, but at least we should understand the meaning of each of the words that we sing. That's my suggestion, but anyway. So let's learn. Okay, Namaha. Together. I offer my respectful obeisances. Te, unto you. Nrsimhaya. Lord Nrsimhadev. Prahlada. To Maharaj Prahlad. Ahlada. Of pleasure. Dayine. Giver. Hiranyakashipo. Of Hiranyakashipu. Vakshaha. Chest. Shila. Like stone. Tanka. Like the chisel. Naka alaye. Whose fingernails. So this naka. Nakam. Naka. Vajranakam. Naka alaye. Translation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, Lord Nrsimhadev. You are the giver of pleasure to Maharaj Prahlad. So, Prahlad alada dayine. Dayine, you give Prahlad halada, you give pleasure to Prahlad. And your nails cut the chest of Hiranyakashipu like a chisel cutting stone. So, Hiranyakashipu Vakshaha, the chest of Hiranyakashipu, Shila Tanka Naka Alaye. Just like your nails, Naka Alaye, just like a tanka, like a chisel, cuts the Shila, cuts a stone, you cut the chest of Nrsimhadev, which is a verse from Nrsimha Purana. Then, what's the next verse that he sings? Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimha. Now let's get it right, okay? A-O. Okay? Very often, devotees, they get this verse mixed up, and it's all but it's A-O, A-O-O. Okay, so Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimho. Yato Yamitato Nrsimha. Bahir Nrsimho, Hridaye Nrsimho. Nrsimhamadim Sharanam Prapadye. So these are easier translations. Ito, here, Nrsimha, Lord Nrsimha. Parato, on the opposite side. So Ito, Parato, here and there. Nrsimha. Yataha. Wherever Yami, I go. Tata, there, Nrsimha, Lord Nrsimha. Bahir, outside. Nrsimha, Lord Nrsimha. Hridaye, in my heart. Nrsimha. Nrsimham, Lord Nrsimha, Adim, the original Supreme Personality, Sharanam Prapadye, I take shelter. Lord Nrsimhadev is here, and he's also there, on the opposite side. Wherever I go, there I see Lord Nrsimhadev. He's outside and within my heart. Therefore, I take shelter of Lord Nrsimhadev, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these were the prayers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu before the deity of Lord Nrsimhadev in Puri. And then he continued, he says, CC says, having offered obeisances, he continues, visits the temple, he returns to his residence. So every day he said these same prayers that we are saying. This relationship that we have with Lord Nrsimhadev. Yes, this is the which I was describing here. This was August 1st of 1970 in Los Angeles. Now, again, I've related that there was trouble in our movement. And just after this, in 1970, Srila Prabhupada, he became so disturbed with what was going on that he left. He left America. He went to Japan. He called Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who and asked him, "Get me out of here. I can't stay here." And he went to Japan. Things were not. In Japan, he encountered similar carelessness. He was there, it was his own Janmashtami, it was his own Vyas Puja. And they hadn't prepared. There was no flowers, or they didn't have any arrangements. He canceled it. He said, "Forget it, we'll do this tomorrow." Simultaneously, in New Vrindavan, these four, because of these problems and so on, four of the individuals, some of who had been connected, some of these issues, Brahmananda, Gargamuni, they were all given sannyas as now we'll get them out preaching. That will help. But they land up in New Vrindavan and they start talking about the reason that Srila Prabhupada has left is because we don't understand who he actually is. And they begin espousing the idea that he's actually Krishna. And we've offended, he'll never come back. It's like, I shouldn't say the icing on the cake, it's the opposite of that. It's the dung at the bottom of the cesspool, something like that. And the word comes back to Srila Prabhupada, and his instruction is, expel them. The first instance, the devotees were actually expelled from our movement. And these are sannyasis. They left New Vrindavan with 25 cents, I think. They were dropped off on the road, and that was it. They slept under trees for the first night. And gradually they figured out what to do, and they began to preach. And within about, I think it's not too long, maybe 6 months or so, or less, few months, Srila Prabhupada brought them back. They learned their lesson, we learned our lesson. And it was at this time that Nrsimhadev was invoked by Srila Prabhupada. He started us chanting. And this time there was, as you can see, it was not, in the style of Nrsimhadev and Hiranyakashipu, there had to be a bit of tearing. There had to be a bit of ripping apart to put it back together. So Srila Prabhupada, in that lecture where he introduces the Nrsimhadev prayers, he introduces various verses from the second canto. He recites, and then he begins to talk about akuto payam. Akutobayam. This is from the verse 2:111. Etan nividhamananam ichatam akutobayam yoginam nripanirnitam hare namanukirtanam. That akutobayam, fearlessness, we're all afraid. But the devotees, Prabhupada says, the devotees, just like Prahlad Maharaj, his father teased him. Interesting way of putting it. From Prabhupada's perspective and from Prahlad Maharaj's perspective, what Hiranyakashipu was doing was, he took it as teasing. I'm being teased by my father. Anyway, he teased him in so many ways, but he was not at all fearful. He was simply thinking of Nrsimha and he was fearless. So only the devotee who has fully surrendered to Krishna, he can be fearless. Narayana para sarve nakatushchana bibidyati. Narayana para means devotees who have dedicated their life to the service of Narayan. Nakutaschana bibyati. He does not fear in any condition of life. So we can learn these things from the pastimes of Nrsimha and Prahlad. We can learn to surrender to Lord Nrsimhadev, to protect us from the demoniac in our hearts, to take out, to remove, randayo, to take away our the source of our fears that is within us. We can learn to take shelter of Lord Nrsimhadev, because he is everywhere and he is within us. And in this way we can become fearless. Not fearless in the sense of, well, I can just walk out into the middle of the street and the road and, nothing can harm me. That would be not fearlessness, that would be stupidity. So we don't want to become stupid. We want to become fearless because we see that Krishna is there, always. And whatever happens, tatenu kampam shushamikshamano bhajane vatmakritam vipakam. Whatever may happen to us in our lives, whatever may come in the way of distress or pain, we take it as Krishna's minimization of our reactions to our sinful past. And what do? Hrid bhag vapu bir vidatat namaste. We continue with hrid, with our hearts, with our bhag, with our words, with our bodies. We continue to serve. Because that way we're confident. We know we are full of confidence. How to say? Utsaha nishchaya dharyat. We have enthusiasm and confidence and patience. Patience built on the confidence that Krishna will always protect us. He will take care of us. Perhaps not in the way that we always would like, and therefore, as I said, when I offer my prayers, I often add a little, be gentle. And because I am afraid. I have to admit, I am afraid. I'm afraid of my weakness. Prabhupada used to say that there's one thing that he was concerned about, that we were not afraid enough. Of what? Of Maya. We should be afraid of that. We should be afraid of our own internal Hiranyakashipus. that we will begin to serve that aspect rather than the pure and divine within us. That we can be afraid of. But the world, what is it? Mare Krishna Rake Ke, Rake Krishna Mare Ke. Oh no, no one, Mare, if Krishna wants to kill us, who can save us in any case? And if Krishna wants us to stay alive, we'll stay alive. It's all in his hands. And when we surrender in that way to Lord Nrsimhadev, to Krishna, the Supreme Lord, then abhayam, abhayam, and then atmani bhuvishta. We can then begin to actually see Krishna. So, today we can remember the Lord in this pastime. As you note, I didn't spend time on the actual details of Nrsimhadev's appearance. I believe we're going to hear that tonight from Ram Roy Prabhu, and I look forward to that very, very much. But these prayers, I want to close with one more prayer. Now, this is a prayer that is not very well known, and if you know it, then I'd be very happy to just let me know if you know this prayer. This prayer is found, it's only one place that I've seen it. It's inscribed on the outside of the temple of Lord Nrsimhadev at the Yoga Pit in Mayapur. And that's the only place I've seen it. I don't know where it's from. I'm kind of thinking that it may be actually composed by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He built that temple. But I don't know. And this is how it goes. It's very simple, very easy. Jai Jai Lakshmi Pati Nrsimha Murari. Jai Jai Lakshmi Pati Nrsimha Murari. Mangala Nilaya Prabhu. Mangala Nilaya Prabhu. Amangala Hari. Amangala Hari. Jai Jai Lakshmi Pati Nrsimha Murari. Mangala Nilaya Prabhu. Amangala Hari. Very simple. All glories to Nrsimha Murari, the husband of Lakshmi. Please, Mangala Nilaya, bring everything that's Mangala, auspicious. Mangala Nilaya, bring the auspiciousness into my life. And Amangala, anything which is inauspicious for your service, Hari, take it away. Jai Nrsimhadev. Hare Krishna. So if there are any other, if there are questions or other comments, insertions, things that you'd like to, yes?
The last one you said, where is it present? Jaya Nrsimha Prabhu.
Excuse me?
The last prayer.
Jai Jai Lakshmi Pati Nrsimha Murari Mangala Nilaya Prabhu Mangala Hari.
Where is this prayer present?
It's inscribed on a plaque outside on the outside of the temple of Lord Nrsimhadev at the Yoga Pit. Now, as those of you who have been there, you know that that temple has been renovated. It's been completely reconstructed. The plaque is still there. I don't know if it's actually the same plaque, but I learned it seeing it in the old temple, which was a very simple old structure, which I believe was actually built by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. In that temple, there's Gaur Gadadhar there and Lord Nrsimhadev. They now I think they're differently situated, but then it was like Lord Nrsimhadev, there's one door, and there's Lakshmi Nrsimha. and then another door, and there's Gorgadhagar. It's just compact. But yeah, that's inscribed there, and I don't know where it's from, but it's so simple, easy to remember, and it says everything. So, Hare Krishna. Yes. Anyone else? Yes. Tulsi.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. I was wondering, do you know something about when Nrsimha in Mayapur was installed, or in Germany, Sri Prabhupada, he gave particular instruction which form of Nrsimha? Like, for example, in Mayapur is Ugra.
Yes.
He gave a particular instruction, or just
No. The Prabhupada, I don't know that he ever requested that we install Lord Nrsimhadev in any of our temples. I'm not aware of any place that he asked this. And so from what I understand, all of the deities of Lord Nrsimhadev have all been installed based on the local devotees, their aspirations. Now, the deity in Mayapur was installed after a very horrific attack on the temple by dacoits. Dacoits are armed robbers. So they attacked the temple and they actually stole Srimati Radharani. They stole the small deities of the original deities that Srila Prabhupada worshipped as a child. Those were stolen, and the deity of, and there was a battle that ensued, and Bhakti Raghav Maharaj suffered a bomb to his leg and lost his half of his leg. And it was a terrible, terrible thing. So the managers, the leaders, co-directors, Jayapataka and Bhavananda, they both were, and I'm not sure. Anyway, the idea arrived, let us bring Lord Nrsimhadev. And then the question came, well, we need a lot of help here. Let's get the most ferocious and the one who's really going to keep these threats at bay. And so that's Ugra Nrsimha. I think he's actually called Stanu Ugra Nrsimha, because he's not just in Ugra, but he's emerging from the pillar. So he's in his most ferocious, he's in his most ferocious form, just coming out. So, yeah, that's what I know. Yeah. And Ryan Prabhu. And we have no breakfast, so we can keep going.
So I just wanted to also ask about the purport that Srila Prabhupada is giving in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, saying verse 65 on Namo Brahman Bhakta. So Krishna is saying you should focus your mind on me. And Srila Prabhupada says these words, they stress that one should concentrate his mind on Krishna, the very form with two hands carrying the flute. And he says, one should not even divert his attention to other forms of the Lord. The Lord is multi-forms, as Vishnu, Narayan, Brahma, Varaha, etc. But the devotee should concentrate his mind on the form that was present before Arjuna. Concentration of the mind on the form of Krishna constitutes the most confidential part of knowledge. So I was wondering if you could explain a little more, like in a day like the appearance of Nrsimha, how these more confidential devotees of the Lord, how they see forms like Nrsimha, how they meditate on them, and
Well, they meditate on him as Krishna with that appearance. Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare. Keshava. We sing this song. I've developed a habit which I think it's a little, I don't know. I often say, Keshava, Drita Nara Hari Rupa. So the Drita Nara Hari Rupa is actually one, goes together. It's not Keshava Drita Nara Hari Rupa, at least in language form. Keshava, Krishna, Keshava. Drita Narahari Rupa, who has assumed the form of Narahari. Jai Jagadisha Hare. So when we see this form as a form that Krishna has assumed this form. He's taken on this form for his pastimes. Even we saw a picture, I don't know if it was shared, I think it was shared in our residence group of Madan Mohan, and was it in Karoli, I guess? Yeah. Where they actually put a Nrsimha face on Madan Mohan.
Yeah.
So, which is, they can do. There, that's their prerogative. But so that's how we see. We meditate on Krishna, but we also appreciate. We see how Krishna assumes so many different forms, and we appreciate those forms as well, and they enhance our relationship with Krishna. And particularly, we meditate. We can meditate on Krishna in this particular form. Because it's in this form, particularly, that he assumes this form for a particular purpose, which we all need. We need his protection, we need his, and we need his thunderbolt nails and teeth to rip apart our desires for material enjoyment. So that's my understanding, is that there's no, and of course, there's a simultaneous oneness and difference aspect here as well, because there are devotees for whom Nrsimha, Prahlad Maharaj to begin with, for whom Nrsimha is their primary, the form in which they relate to Krishna. Nanda Maharaj worshipped Nrsimhadev. Nanda Maharaj, there's a temple of Nrsimha in Nandagram. Garga Rishi, when all these things were going on with Krishna and these demons and so on, then Garga Rishi advised Nanda Maharaj to worship Lord Nrsimhadev. And it's now this is a story that I don't know if is the provenance and but how many of you have gone on Govardhan Parikrama? You went with us on Govardhan, you were there with us, right? So you remember we went to the temple of Lord Nrsimhadev near Punchari at the end of Govardhan. So the Pujari there is very, very kind, and so he often reveals the deity's full form, because usually he's covered. He moves aside his cloth, and you can see Nrsimhadev has got his fingers like this, and there's something there. And I was trying, and then the Pujari was describing, it doesn't really look like a human being, does it? And he says that this particular deity, now I think he claims that this was worshipped in Nandagram, but I don't know. Anyway, he says it's a deer. And so he says that Krishna, in order for Krishna not to become too afraid of Nrsimhadev, Nanda Maharaj had a deity of Nrsimha with a deer on his lap instead of a human being. So anyway, that's just, that's a Braj Basi story, which take it for whatever it is. It's just one of those stories. But anyway, it just goes to the point of how we see Krishna as Nrsimhadev. So, I hope that answers your question. Maybe, a little bit. Hare Krishna. All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much. We look forward to this evening. We'll be having more katha. We'll get, I think that time we'll really hear the whole pastime in detail. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai.